What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about YouTube in 2021. This is going to kind of be a different video than I've done in the past. I don't expect it to do very well, so if it does do well, I'll be very shocked. I'll be very grateful to you guys. So anybody, by the way, that watches these, I greatly appreciate. Firstly, let me say Happy New Year, Happy 2021, and I wanted to take this time to talk about YouTube going into the new year. You know, YouTube had an up and down 2020. I wouldn't call it the worst year for YouTube in 2020, but it definitely wasn't amazing. And I think that, well, we got to talk about, you know, where do things go? Do things actually improve? Do things actually get worse? And we're going to start it right now. So, you know, 2020 was the year of Kappa. Remember, January 1st was when last year, I actually did a video on that day, on the first day of January last year. I talked about Kappa and said, like, you know, is this going to really hurt YouTube? I have to kind of give them credit, because I would say overall, I mean, did it affect some channels that probably didn't deserve to be affected? Yes. Did channels that get affected by this have a tough time transitioning into like the YouTube Kids and all the stuff that kind of came from that? Yes. But again, like, YouTube was its normal self, being very up and down. They'll listen when it's made a big deal, or when big YouTubers talk about it, and then obviously they have no idea what they're doing for the rest of the time, and they just flat out ignore it. It wasn't the greatest year, but again, I feel like we've had much worse years on YouTube than this year. But one of the biggest things that happened this year in YouTube was really not in the gaming atmosphere, wasn't in the entertainment atmosphere. It was really in the political atmosphere. And I know you guys are, gaming people, you guys are maybe entertainment people. But again, like, if any random person, coming into this video, when we talk about what YouTube needs to do in 2021, that's one of the things that scares me the most. And truly, it really isn't, and this is the biggest thing, it's not just a political issue. It's not just a, who's running for president, okay? What it ultimately comes down to is their take on the truth versus basically using Trump's own word, like fake news, okay? And I'm not saying like one side, I'm not saying which side is fake, which side is not, because ultimately there's a lot of gray area in it. But the point is, the biggest problem YouTube made in 2020, well, Kappa was one, okay? Kappa was like a big thing in general. I would say another thing that really stood out recently over the last 3-4 months is when Charlie, right, Penguin Z0 or Moist Critical, when he got hit with that copyright strike, and then Markiplier, kind of stuck up for him. They gave him a copyright strike, and then there was that whole thing. I mean, that was a disaster. That was a joke, and it kind of sucks that, again, like, those things happen daily to thousands and thousands of channels, and if you're not Markiplier, you're not going to get the same treatment. And then, I love those too. Those are phenomenal channels. But I'm not expecting them to always stick up for the little guy. But truly, I don't think enough comes out of those kind of things. So when that happens tomorrow, even when they say, like, we're going to be keeping our eye on it, I'm talking about like Markiplier and Charlie, when they say we're going to be keeping our eye on it, like, we don't want this happening to other people, I'd almost prefer them to not even say that in general, because for the most part, they don't do all that much to help other people. Okay, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying like, oh, they help nobody. I know they do charities, they do donations, they do so much good, and they're just phenomenal content creators. But the point is, and it's YouTube's fault. I'm not going to blame them. It's YouTube's broken system. But that was another glaring highlight of the year, where it's like, this is something that affects everybody, okay? And if you can't reach them on Twitter, you don't have a Twitter, I mean, immediately you're out of luck. But again, like, if you're not a big channel, I mean, even me, I believe this year, I didn't get striked, but I got the copyright, like, claim, okay? Actually, I think a video did get taken down, but it wasn't a strike, and I had to, like, appeal to YouTube, and I did it through Twitter. Like, I got their attention, and luckily, because I have the Twitter community that I have, and it is growing, and that's why it's so important to have a Twitter community, I managed to get them, and the issue was actually fixed, like, within 12, 14 hours. But again, like, those are just some of the issues that have happened this year. And then again, the political thing, look, no matter what, and this truly is the biggest thing, no matter what side you're on, because again, it seeps into everything else, for YouTube to decide what is true, what is fake, to take things down, to issue warnings, to all of this stuff is so dangerous. I do agree with the reforming Section 230. I think they have way too much power. They 1000%, YouTube, Twitter, all these companies, they are publishers. Whether they want to say that or not, they are 1000% publishers of this information. They don't want to be, or they at least say that, but they 100% are. They they are telling what is allowed and what is not allowed, and they don't do it evenly at all, right? Some people are always going to be right, some people are always going to be wrong, and then it's gotten to a point this year, yes, because of the election, but again, this is, I always say, you give them an inch, they take the mile, right? It's a phenomenal saying, and it's true, and YouTube does it, because when they do something like this, sure, it may be small now, and I wouldn't even say it's small now, I would say it's enormous, banning channels for talking about whatever, and they have banned multiple groups of people for talking about certain stuff. Now, yeah, they do have rules, and if you break rules, you should, you're punished, or it should be punishable under, whatever they say. But again, they don't do it evenly. The rules are broken all the time by both sides, and they pick, and that's the thing, and that's the whole Section 230, right? Where they are not allowed to pick. You can't do that. You have to make it even, and they don't do it. And so that is the biggest thing. So while YouTube, I would say glaring issues in 2020, they didn't have too many, but in terms of kind of smaller things that have started to seep its way into it, this was a breaking year that I'm very afraid is only going to get worse. And again, you can say, well, Alex, again, like, it's politics. They say, like, the election is already called, stuff like that. What does that have to do with the rest of it? Well, again, it becomes part of all of us too, right? If you talk about a controversial thing, even if it's not politics, if you talk about something a person says, who's to say YouTube won't pick a side and say, well, you can't? In fact, they kind of already do that, right? You're not really allowed to make commentary videos, I guess, quote unquote, attacking others, but what's the line? What's attacking? YouTube makes that up. YouTube decides, and that's not fair. In fact, they're not even supposed to do that. It should be free. You should be allowed to say it. Again, we follow their rules because it's their platform, but they have to do it evenly. So if you have somebody on one side attacking somebody, and that's cool, but then if you attack them and YouTube has deemed them to be untouchable, well, that's not cool. That's not fair. And that's what we've gotten a lot this year, not necessarily with individual people, although you can think of some in the political field, but also just in general. There are some topics that you're just not allowed to talk about. There are some people you are not allowed to talk about, otherwise you get deemed, and I'm not saying like you'll get banned or you'll get like a strike, although sometimes that does happen actually, but the biggest thing is like demonetization, right? You're not going to make any money, and eventually like your entire channel is at danger. And it's always happened. It's happened, incrementally every single year, but this was the biggest year that you saw that over and over and over again, mainly the last 3-4 months, but really it happened the entire year. And that, when we talk about, is 2021 going to be better? We'll have to see. Honestly, it does depend a lot. I don't want to get, it's not conspiracy, it's not anything like that, but we need to see what happens in general, like with politics, what happens with the president, what happens with Section 230, because in all reality, things can get so much worse, and things could probably get better. I mean, if Section 230 is reformed, that probably hurts everybody on all these social medias, at least in the short term, but I truly do believe in the long term, it would be for the best, right? To make everything even. The companies would have to completely redo everything, like their terms of service and all that kind of stuff. So there would be insane major changes if that happened. Again, does that happen? But if it doesn't, say everything stays the same and we just keep going down the path we're going, it is dangerous. It's a very dangerous field, because again, even me, I even get scared. I never really talked about anything too controversial. I mean, we used to back like 3-4 years ago when we thought it was cool. We were just starting YouTube. It was fun. I did that, okay? And then I stopped for a long time, for years. I didn't really talk about anything. I mean, yeah, you talk about like, is a game bad? Like, oh my God, that's controversial. But like, that's it. This year, I've talked about issues in the gaming, and even in we talked about like J.K. Rowling and Johnny Depp and stuff like that. I mean, it's not super like political or serious, but it's like getting there. You know what I mean? And it's something where even I am a little afraid every time I do it, but I do, like, I feel so good about it. I love talking about it. I love ranting. I love like letting my emotion just out, and a lot of people do like that. A lot of people say that those are their favorite videos for me, and I appreciate it. It's just, it is dangerous, and nothing's ever happened to me, but that doesn't mean it won't. And we also know too how YouTube works is like the bigger you get, the more these things tend, like, you have, like, once you have more eyes on you, whether it be people reporting you or whether it just be seemingly you cross an invisible threshold and suddenly YouTube's like, oh, okay, now you're gonna get hit with this. Like, maybe before you would have flown under the radar, but now you're big enough where we found you, and now you're in some serious trouble, right? So while it hasn't happened to me yet, who knows, if I made a video at 40,000 subs versus the same video at 80,000, maybe I get hit with something at 80,000 that I wouldn't at 40 because I'm bigger and more people see it or more people know me, stuff like that. So, you know, there needs to be change. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I'm violently against a lot of the stuff that YouTube has done over the last year. So hopefully there are some major changes that happen going forward. Do I think they will? I have hope. I'm always an optimistic person, so I do have hope that things will get better, but YouTube did not have a good year, I would say, in 2020. As always, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. I know this is a kind of weird video, maybe not even for my audience, but I truly hope that, you know, anybody that watches this video, my audience or not my audience, got something from it, okay? So let me know what you guys think. If you guys liked that stuff or liked all this stuff, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. Again, Happy New Year. Hopefully everything's better for you in 2021. Hopefully everything's better for YouTube in 2021, okay? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.